Put away your umbrellas, get out your mint cakes, hike to your nearest chair, pop in your headphones and get ready for the next episode of the Lakes International Comic Art Festival podcasts with your hosts, live from the Lakes, the practically perfect Nicole Bates, and don't get him angry, Ian Loxham.
Hello, welcome to the Lakes International Comic Art Festival podcast, episode 83. My name is Ian.
And I'm Nikki.
And this is where Pete jumps in.
I knew this. We didn't do an order, did we? Come on.
It was so slick.
Are we going to start again?
Nope.
No.
This is the professionalism they pay for.
Oh, yeah. I do. I'm Pete Taylor, chronicler of Silverbeard and current comics clever clogs.
We'll get to that. And we also have
Mike Williams, comic collector, nerd, and commentator. On Twitter as @CthulhuPunk.
Look at that, selling himself
he
already.
did there, didn't he?
Jeez, tell you. So
I learned this from Pete.
So we're here to do our wrap up, as we usually do, of the Lakes. Obviously, slightly different this year.
Yes.
Very different this year.
Very much so.
Before we get to that point, how are you two doing? How are you getting on in this virus world?
Yeah, well, it's funny. We normally do a bit of an isolation sort of diary, and it's been getting harder. I don't know. I think I expected it to get easier. I think perhaps I was a little flip at the beginning because there wasn't really that much difference for me. I stay at home a lot. I'm quite antisocial, so I work from home. You know, nothing really changed except I got a really good excuse to get out of doing, anything socially. But I don't know, as the summer's gone on and the girls both went to uni, things started to seem a little bit. I thought they would seem a bit easier. You'd get used to it, but I don't know. I don't think I have, and I think it's been a little bit tougher. And even having something like the Lakes, which was really the highlight of my year, it was something I would really look forward to. Yeah. It was, a weekend where you totally absorbed yourself and, you were in a different place and it was all about comics. I was kind of slightly dreading it this year. And I kind of sucked in a little bit more. I'm not on social media at all at the moment. Yeah, it's been quite strange, and I really did enjoy the weekend. And but I was almost dreading it. It was a strange feeling. I think it's because it was such a highlight, something I really look forward to. So it had a real bright light shined on it. But yeah, it's been getting tougher for me.
How about you, Mike?
Kind of similar. It's only recently it's kind of hit me a bit, but I work from home anyway. I'm a computer engineer. I program and code from home, which is easy, and I'm a fantasist. I have comics, films, and role-playing games to fill my head. And I have a partner that's into that, so we've just lived in a little fantasy world and enjoyed ourselves, but work went absolutely crazy. I've been doing 60, 70-hour weeks for about a month now, which is why, you guys haven't been able to keep in touch as much as I like to. But I finally got a weekend off for the festival. And like Pete, been looking forward to it all year round. And I wasn't dreading it. I was genuinely looking forward to it. And I really enjoyed it. There's things that slightly were amiss because there wasn't the social meet and all that kind of stuff, but it kind of scratched a lot of other kind of itches for me. It was a lot more. I participated far more than I normally do because you could do it at your own leisure.
That's true.
There wasn't 5 things happening at once.
Yeah.
And I do like that. But yeah, I think mentally we're in an okay space. Work is dying down for both of us at the moment to normal levels, should we say? So I think that's been the biggest hit for us.
I think.
So, what about you guys?
Yeah, you haven't coped, Ian.
I've not been good the past few weeks,
No.
I must admit.
No, you're not doing
And
well.
maybe the festival's a bit to blame for that, in the sense that is something you look forward to every year, and it wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and it sort of brings it to light, doesn't it? Oh, I should be doing this now. I should be going here
You
now.
were saying things like that, actually.
And it sort of, not through the festival's fault, but it did sort of, cause issues, I suppose. And not just that.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it's getting harder.
Yeah.
It is getting
Yeah.
harder. It's because it was a bit of fun, you know, having some time off work, you know, a few weeks, put your feet up, work went quiet, blah, de blah, and it's now still not stopped.
No,
It's not gone back to normal.
no, not at all.
I think that's what we're missing. Just want that normality back
Yeah.
instead of it
I
getting
suppose
worse.
I've been the same though, because I've worked the same hours throughout. So mine's all been. I mean, I work at stupid o'clock in the morning, but I've been better, I think, because I'm mixing with people all the time at work. So it's been more normal for me. So I had the wobble at the start, but I'm all right now. with the
Yeah,
whole
but you still
thing.
don't want to go to a pub,
No, I don't want to go to a pub, but we are going to the cinema.
and that's normality. So
Yeah, no, I don't want to do things like that. And I get a bit twitchy when there's loads of crowds of tourists, because we went to Grasmere, didn't we, on Monday? And it was full of tourists just everywhere, and that makes me twitchy.
Yeah. There's a lot of that. I mean, obviously, we have to isolate properly because
Yeah.
of me,
Yeah,
because I've got a kidney transplant.
yeah.
Some of the things we do to cope, you know, you tweeted you're going to go and see Akira.
yeah,
Yes.
Right, well, I can't risk that.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to. But
Yeah.
we're going to watch the digitally remastered version
Yes.
whilst you're watching it.
Oh,
brilliant.
fantastic! Oh, that's so good.
get the
It's
popcorn,
little
get the
things
lights
like that.
down.
It just makes me feel like we're doing something with you guys.
Yes, yeah. No, it's not stupid at all, because it is bringing that connectivity, and that's
Well,
what we're all missing, isn't it?
This is our first trip to the cinema,
Yeah, we haven't done the cinema before.
so it's only because it is
It's
Akira,
Akira on the big screen.
that we're going to make the effort. You know, it's not. Yeah,
Yeah. It's that losing you the adult social time, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's really knocked us.
it's challenging.
Yeah, I suppose I did used to, because I've probably saved it all up, or you've just got certain people that you only see, you know, at certain times of the year, so that you know you only see, you know, the Scroll Lords or other comic pals. You only see them at cons,
Yeah.
you know. So you know, it's a big gap. It's a bit of a hole. And for the lakes, it was a really personal one for me as well, because I went there the first year I was on my own, and then it's gradually. So it felt really nice. It felt like it was mine, you know. I met loads of people, so friendly, and so it really did feel special of all of the cons and festivals. And it's grown from that, because I used to take Daisy, and then, you know, with Sock and the Scroll Lords, and podcast.
Yeah.
It's grown, you know. It's like you've got this massive family,
Yeah.
you know, of people that you really look forward to seeing. You know, Chris.
Oh, no one looks forward to
I was
seeing
going to say,
Chris.
we don't take it forward. Yes.
I've missed Chris because I've not spoken to him at all. Last time I saw him, we walked past each other in town in February.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think we nodded because we were a bit too far apart, and that was it. That's the only time I've seen Chris for a full year.
We're going to go and see him next weekend.
Next weekend,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh,
Yes.
So,
yeah, there
yeah,
you go.
I'll say hi.
we will do.
Yeah, so you know, things. It was a huge group of people, really. So you know, it just makes it even worse when it doesn't happen. But I suppose, yeah, I save it all up. I am antisocial.
As are the majority of creators we speak to.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I just like sitting there and drawing. I've got my own imaginary worlds that I'm sometimes much happier living in. There's more gorillas and more monsters.
And less Trump. Right, super. You know, I had a feeling. The reason why I asked that is because I could, you know, we knew you guys were, certainly you, Pete, feeling a bit down. And I think it's good to hear people explain that and know everyone's in the same boat, or a lot of people
Yeah.
are in the same boat. I think that's really important. So, yeah. Right, well, let's talk about the festival itself then.
Go for it.
Okay. So, launch night. Usually the greatest night of the festival. Didn't quite have the pizzazz, unfortunately. But they did do, which we've discussed, the Illuminos. Have you watched the
yes.
video of the display on the town hall?
Yeah.
No, Pete hasn't. It's all right. No, there's going to be bits we've seen and haven't seen. What did you think of that, Mike, from the video impression?
I thought it was great. We were tempted to try and figure out whether we could actually go for a drive and stop. You have to understand Kendal Town Centre to understand why that's hard at certain times of night and getting down that street and stuff.
Yeah.
But there was just we looked into doing that. So I'm glad that they did a really good video of it. Didn't they kicked off the launch event with that, didn't they? I think.
Yes, yeah.
Oh, yes, at the weekend.
Was that the first thing we played?
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. It was that. It was superb. It was so cleverly done. But it was the one where they lined up with all the windows of the clock tower. It was so clever.
I don't know how. No idea how. The work to get that to sit. I mean, it's probably a simple program, but I don't know. But the work to get that to sit perfectly was amazing.
Yeah, no, it was,
and it really did.
It was very good. Yeah. There wasn't many people though. We went on the first bit, didn't we?
No, Kendal, you don't know what you're missing.
Yeah. But I suppose in a way it's good that there wasn't many people, but also it wasn't good that there was more marshals than people.
There was a few drunk people.
There was quite a few drunk people.
Was there?
There was a drunk person on a bike holding his can, just weaving, trying to look at the actual thing. I was like, oh, it's just classic.
It's the early pub shutting. They're all starting earlier. But no, it was a brilliant idea, and I think that was the best thing they could have done.
Yes. Based
on the circumstances, at least they did something that wasn't just online.
Yes, yeah. So local people could actually see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense.
So the launch on the Friday evening was mainly Julie discussing the events and the weekend that was coming. They had some. I'm assuming both of you seen the videos from the launch night. Pete's pulling her face again.
Yeah. I can't remember what they are, but I'm sure I watched them.
They did the sheep comic.
It was a viral loads, wasn't
Page
it?
by page.
Only did a bit of that. We'll get to that though.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they had the viral loads music,
Yes.
which was highly entertaining.
Yeah, that was very good.
Yeah, no. Didn't watch that, sorry.
Oh, Pete's not done full homework here.
Pete's getting a D for homework.
There's too much other stuff. I had to really prioritise. I've watched loads, but I skipped the music. I was straight on for Desert Island Comics. I'll have more of that.
Good, because we didn't watch all them. So
No, we didn't watch those ones, so that's fine.
When they were actually playing live in Ruskin's, the bar.
Yeah.
I was with. We were in the other room, Pete. So you didn't listen to them then, even when they were next door live.
Oh no! Oh, no.
We were a few drinks in though.
Yeah. Well, yeah. See, it's just too loud.
It's like a real.
I want to be chatting to people.
Pete's excuse is stuck behind the table.
One weekend when I'm not antisocial, so I'm chatting to people.
So if you've not seen it, the band starred Charlie Adlard, Joe McGarry, Luke McGarry, Michael Lark, David Silverman, and some guests.
Yes.
In the background, including John Freeman's
Freeman
cat.
with his cat, yeah.
Playing 2 songs, neither of which I'd ever heard of.
Why would you have heard of them?
I didn't think they were original. Were they originals? Were they originals? I didn't think they were.
Oh. No, they started off with Waterfront, didn't they?
Yeah, well, I've never heard of
Simple
them.
Minds.
Oh, Simple Minds. Oh.
Maybe if I hear them, the original, I might know it, but I didn't know it. They're not the originals. They're not originals.
I thought they were.
You see, this you're the same as me. I have no idea what we're talking about.
No idea.
There was one I didn't know, but that could be my music knowledge.
Was that the White Noise
I'm sure they were.
White Noise.
I thought they were covers.
Or something. Yeah, I thought they were covers.
Oh, I don't know. They were good.
Anyway, we read comics. We don't listen to music. But to get that put together was superb. With, again, just using Zoom to manage that. It was excellent. So well done. I think McGarry's probably had a lot to do with the process of that. So, and having David Silverman's brass instruments up in flames.
Flaming tuba.
Yeah.
Am I right in saying he's a nutter?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
No one has that many hats. No sane person has that many.
He had this hat stand,
Yes.
for those that haven't seen it, a hat stand with the most bizarre hats and everything. But I've probably got something to say about him later on anyway, because I'm sure we're going to touch on something about him last year.
Okay.
But I've got to go into the tuba. The tuba shoots flames, doesn't it?
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes, it does.
I didn't imagine that.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, now I'm regretting my decision to not watch it. Damn. Nobody
Did
told me
you-
about a flame tuber.
Did you not see the tuba 2 years ago, Pete?
No?
Yeah, but
Oh, we
I
followed
thought
him.
I was imagining it. Yes, you did, Pete.
Did I?
Oh, no. No, I left you, didn't I?
Ah, yes. No, that's the year we lost Pete and didn't
To
see
run
him
on
that
the
whole
streets
night.
and
Oh, where Pete left us.
Yeah, didn't even see him.
Didn't see him at all.
And you missed the
You-
flaming
you
tuba
didn't-
through the town.
Yeah.
I got lost.
You went to the pub.
You went to the pub.
Didn't I leave you for half an hour? Because I said I was going to meet up with these two.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I ran up the street following a parade.
Yes,
You
and we
didn't-
were in the.
Right.
We
you
were
didn't
at the
join
Okay.
me.
We were meant to
We
meet
were-
you in a pub, then you went to Weatherspoons.
yes.
Okay, yes.
And then we were in
I
the
missed the
parade.
flame tuber.
You missed the flame tuba.
Damn. And then we came back and met up in Ruskins.
Possibly, I've no idea.
Can't remember the rest of that.
But yeah, he's brilliant. And hopefully he comes back at some point down the line.
Yeah.
But if you've never been to the lakes, I think this music shows what a night is like. There's always some sort of odd band
Yeah.
creation mix mash
Yeah.
on the event.
Yeah,
So it's,
totally.
if you find that fun, you'd enjoy the evening of the lakes. On that night as well, they also announced the new UK's comic laureate,
They did indeed.
which was Stephen from Page 45 Comics in Nottingham. Our initial, I think we both looked at each other when they announced that, because we didn't know, which is probably the first year we didn't have a
That's very true.
We didn't get a
have a
cheeky
heads
nod.
up. Yeah.
wasn't happy about that. I think I'm going to be honest. We both looked at each other and went, "What the?" Mm-hmm. But
And then, yeah.
what was your before we get to his speech? What was your first reaction?
I thought having a retailer in the comics laureate position was really good. I think particularly this year, the fact that the pandemic has caused such chaos to the comics industry, so many pros and creators. Well, I mean, to be honest, pros in particular, it's that weird sort of, situation where it's the pros that got told to put their pencils down.
Yeah,
And have had to really find, depending on what your publishing strategy was, depending on where your employment came from. So I'm sure there are lots of creators that are working on their own work and self-publishing, or pushing it out through publishers, maybe like Image, and then you've got the people who are working for the bigger two. They were perhaps the most immediately affected, and then the comic shops are shutting on top of that.
Yeah.
So you've instantly got a situation that affects thousands of people in the comic industry. I think having somebody in a different part of that pipeline, if you like, is really useful. I mean, I would like to understand comics retailing a little bit more, and hopefully in the same way that having a comics creator publicizing comics and the system of making them and working in the industry, having somebody in a different part of the industry can only be useful. And I think it's really useful at this moment in time. I think that viewpoint is going to be sort of required. Different ways to market. I think Hannah Berry was talking about that online. I know she's investigating different ways to get work out there. So I think it's really useful to have somebody. So who's going to be doing that? God, so unprofessional today.
disgusting.
That's my scroll lords alert. That's WhatsApp. So when it barks, it's usually somebody in the scroll lords in the WhatsApp group that's constantly barking, basically.
Mike, what was your initial response to that?
Oh, minimal. If I'm honest, every year they announce, it's a case of I don't really care who they are. It's a job. And it's all for me. It's what do they do? I only have the reaction at the end of the year when I look back and think, "Oh wow, he did that," or "Oh, that was really cool. She did that." The idea is to promote comics, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's never. I know some people are saying about the creator side of things. It's never even occurred to me that it's about a creator because they're not creating anything as a job.
They're not.
They're doing so. And I have to say, Stephen himself. Page 45 has introduced me to an awful lot of stuff because they're big enough and they specialise in bringing in translated works. And I know I've banged on about this on my podcast before. And the festival, it's always a big thing. Is me and Alison go there and we spend at least an hour trawling through stuff.
Yeah.
And it's stuff that you won't find at Waterstones, you won't find at Forbidden Planet, you won't find at So it was like, oh yeah, I get that.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, I want to split us. That's the important thing for me. What are you going to do? Go on.
That was the interesting thing. As soon as you thought that the what the hell, and then when he started talking, the passion that he brought out in his speech, and the passion regarding going to schools and that being the focus of getting these kids into graphic novels, comics, whichever you want to call them, that did it for me.
Yes, yeah.
That sort of that initial what there was destroyed by his speech and what he explained, what his plans were, and how excited he was about this role. And I think he possibly can make a difference where maybe a creator couldn't, due to a bigger understanding of the whole industry.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Or a different understanding of the industry.
Yeah.
So
We'll have to see.
I'm interested and I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
And it's seen those results. It'll be interesting to have some sort of evidence of results, which I don't know if we always get, but that'll be interesting.
Definitely, a different voice.
Yeah, but it's always a case of watch this space, and then you wait and see what they do.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking forward to it. We'll be having him on the show.
Yes,
in
we are.
February-ish time. To talk about
what he's up to,
what his plans, and hopefully, I'm sure Hannah will come back on to talk about the work that she put in. Yeah, which has definitely changed from her original plan due to
it had to, didn't it, because of COVID? So yeah,
so it'll be interesting to chat to her. So listen to future episodes. And that was sort of the main part of the launch with those points. Yeah. And they showed a few snippets of what was to come, but we'll jump straight onto the Saturday. Or how do I do this? Should we do this sort of like segments? I'm trying to find the segments now.
You're not doing very well, though.
No, I'm not. I'm going through the rather than the website.
You're doing well.
Doing right. So we had the Thinking Comics area. So these were videos such as the history of American War comics, future of comics, being African artist in Africa. What did you watch of these ones, guys?
I watched John McShane's history of American War comics. John is a stalwart of Ruskin's Bar. I remember in one of my first couple of years, him leading the sort of ABBA karaoke.
Yes. He loves to sing along.
Back of the room. Yeah. Back of the room. I think Emma Vicelli was singing, and there's John conducting the rest of the room. So it was nice to at least see him virtually, talking about something that he knows very well. I think if you do manage to be able to chat to him, he's the man of 1,000 stories. He's met everybody. So chatting to him about the time he met Jack Kirby and Stanley in San Diego, and he's just brilliant. So that was nice. Yeah, enjoyed. It's quite a short lecture in a way, but it covers the genre really well. I mean, it stops quite short. I think, Mike, you went a bit further, didn't you, with yours? He tended to do it. I think he did it from Captain America almost to NAM.
He went to NAM, yeah.
Yeah, which is quite. Maybe you plan to do something a bit longer, or it's in 2 parts maybe. But there was a lot in there that I didn't particularly know, and I did realise I'd not read the NAM, so I might have to start. I do love Michael Golden, but yeah, really good. That, and the rest are on my list to catch up with as well, particularly the future of comics.
You watched the American comics as well, didn't you, Mike?
I did, yeah. It was because as part of the Genre World Cup, I was given war. So it was a case of, let's see what he's got to say about me. And I was really proud that I actually covered quite a lot of the key kind of markers. And he started as well with the Captain America cover of Punching Hitler, which is where I kind of started my modern era of war comics sort of thing. So, it's always good to get... I like academic-y style ones. I know most people might get turned off by that, but I did like that. I watched the Change Will Happen one. With
Bobby Joseph, yeah.
And strangely enough, whilst doing the Genre World Cup, Skank magazine, which is where he kind of started, got a mention. It was at that period of a lot of Viz-alike comics. Do you remember there was like a whole explosion of them?
Yes, I do actually.
When Viz hit the big time, there was Blot and Splat and all that kind of stuff. It was really interesting. And I think if you are a young creator, he made so many good points about diversity in comics and the fact that independent comics gets it right and better a lot more of the time. That was quite an interesting point, which I kind of knew that, but I hadn't put it into words yet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was really well thought out what he said anyway. So I don't know if anyone else saw that but the other major one for me was the Hannah Berry and the survey stuff, which sounds like you're going to catch up with her.
Which we'll go on. I think we'll see how she feels at the end of it all, and we'll discuss that in more depth with her. So I did see a bit of the Bobby Joseph one. He's an interesting chap, I must admit, and I think it'd be good to have a chat on the episode as well, to be honest, to further look into that. Certainly. The next one, which... Now, we had a problem with these because of time. We had somebody's birthday at the weekend, so it's very selfish.
I know. How dare a child have been born?
But they had 7 workshops, which were set at a particular time. You had to book to go on them. We managed to get on one of them. I think, Mike, you got a couple of them, didn't you?
Yes.
Pete, did you do any live workshops?
Yeah, I was booked into a couple. I just managed the one.
Yeah.
Like you say, the problem with one of the cons of a virtual festival is, unlike being there at the weekend, and it takes up the entirety of your time, and you're kind of, you're there just to do the stuff that you can do and pack as much in as possible. Having really your laptop being the place you have to be at certain times, it is difficult. And I did miss a couple of things and was called away from a few things in the middle.
Real life just takes over.
It's difficult to carve out the time. But I was going to do Lucy Sullivan's drawing class first thing in the morning, but couldn't make that. But I did manage to catch Joe Kelly's writing workshop at the end of the day, which was brilliant.
So, Lucy Sullivan, were you at that? You were on that one, Mike?
Mike was on that one. We didn't see you
then.
Yeah.
No, funnily enough, because I joined really early, like 10 minutes before it started. And when it started, right, it was the presenter at the top of the screen, then it was you two.
Yay!
And me. It was like you were the second people in or something.
We weren't, though. We weren't.
No, we weren't. But we're that important.
It must be just random look of how was it Zoom or Teams? It was Zoom, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah, it must have been just random look at the draw as to who got. But it was good though, wasn't it?
It was brilliant.
It was amazing.
Really good session.
It's so Lucy spent the time trying to teach us how to draw pure observation without actually looking at the paper. That was a big thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was all about looking at whatever you're drawing, whether it be a skyline, a hand,
Yeah, it was the hands we started with.
Dogs,
wasn't it?
yeah. So your hands.
Well,
you
that
had
was
to,
negative space for that one.
Didn't get that. So you had to draw your hand whilst just looking at your hand and not looking at the paper in one continuous line,
yeah.
which was nigh on impossible. But yeah, she was really good in the way she put across her thoughts, and you can tell she'd done this professionally.
Yes, yeah.
In a way, presenting and so forth. And I must admit, I came out really
Inspired?
positive,
Yeah.
inspired about drawing, even though I'm not an artist.
Oh, just do it.
Stop. But no, and I felt my initial impression of coming out was that is we need these at the festival. They need to do more of these classes somehow at the event, the weekend itself.
That's what you could do. You need
When you've got no social distancing, you could have a room of 30 quite easily.
Yeah.
In a brewery, a classroom. And I would love that. I'd be all over that.
They've done stuff like this at the Brewery Arts Centre, haven't they? Outside
Yes.
the festival. They
Yeah.
haven't for a few years.
No, and they've done it for kids
We
at the
must have
festival.
missed them, but yeah, I mean, they used to do Japanese Manga Week, didn't they? And they had how to draw manga stuff there. That was like 4 years ago,
Okay.
and I really wish they'd bring that back. But yeah, but the idea of this exercise is it's something that you do daily, isn't it?
Yes.
And I really loved the idea of that. And we were both really well on for it. Have me in an hour to do it once? No. I really want to, though. We've got to make time just in the morning just to do a little drawing exercise or something. But yeah, we've been crap.
So have we, actually.
Yeah, considering you were told in particular, she pointed yours out in particular. You should be doing it, and I'm surprised she's not followed up on it.
Oh. So she'll tell me all.
But no, it was,
Some of the other people were brilliant, weren't they?
Oh, really
yes,
good.
well, you could tell the artist in the room.
I mean, I was going to say some of them are artists professionally, but yeah.
Now, that is the only one we actually got to see live, which was
yeah.
frustrating. I did want to, the one I wanted to go to, which just didn't fit, was the How to Animate. But that just didn't fit in our weekend, unfortunately. So, Mike, what was the next one you saw?
I did also tune in for the How to Write Comics.
Yeah.
Joe Kelly did that one live. And I did see you were on it, Pete. Sock was on it. Was he? There was a few other people I recognised. I can't remember who.
Yeah, I can't remember now. He was there, but he was well attended.
Mm-hmm.
He was really entertaining. I'd seen him talking at the Marvel versus DC debate. Was he on the Marvel? He was on the Marvel team, wasn't he?
He was.
A good
So he
team.
was really,
The best.
yeah, he's very personable. So, and he actually, I think they were only supposed to be an hour, weren't they? But
That was the plan, yeah.
he was having such a good time. He did an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So what sort of things did he
really
cover then?
Useful stuff. I did come away kind of thinking that I hadn't put enough work into certain parts of character development before you start, writing. Mm-hmm. And the best bit of, I think, help was thinking of your supporting cast in terms of how they will propel your protagonist through their adventures, and having people that represent or encourage the hero to one side of their character. So he used Spider-Man as an example. So he described the twin sort of pulls against Spider-Man as great power and great responsibility. So he's got all of these fantastic powers, and he likes to go out and have fun with them, or just use them and do good. But then he's also got the pull of responsibility and looking after Aunt May and looking after his family, or even doing a job to a certain extent. And then how the different cast represented those pulls on him. So you had any time that J. Jonah Jameson was involved, that was really involving Spider-Man and would propel Peter to do something, in generally be in conflict with him. And then by adding somebody else from the other side of the equation into the mix, whether it's Aunt May or somebody who was actually, it might have been when he was working in college, or it pulls them away from being Spider-Man and drives the conflict of the story. So yeah, it was Yeah, really, really good.
It was a proper technique, though, wasn't it? It's the idea is to draw a character wheel, so that you've got your main character and then spokes going out to all these kind of supporting cast that have influence on. But I laughed every time because every time he gave an example of Aunt May somehow influencing him, it's always to do with Aunt May falling over and breaking a hip. It just got funnier and funnier.
Tripping over a pancake.
Yeah. But it was a proper technique again, and that's what I like in these things. They show you something that you can practically use. It's not just theory and all this, talking, endlessly about stuff. Have you guys watched that? Have you caught up with it?
I'll be honest, not
No, we
not
haven't
caught up
actually,
with that,
no.
which is I do want to because again it was an interesting one. But it was his birthday, so
No, I think you'd both enjoy that actually. Your creators, you'll give you a technique.
Creator.
Well, creator. You've done a bit of writing, haven't you?
Yeah, he has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Stop it.
There you go.
Did you watch any others then?
No, I was registered for How to Think with Stephen Appleby,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, I suddenly realised that was clashing with the big comic pub quiz.
Ah.
So I've actually got it lined up to watch. I think they have put that one online.
They've
now.
all gone up now. Yeah.
Oh, they have.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I will go back and watch the crowdfunding one.
Yeah.
Is Ben Cullis and Tom Ward. Did anyone catch that yet?
No, John Freeman has mentioned that though, because
Yes.
we put a tweet out about favourite. Look at Nikki's like, did it?
Did you?
And that was one of his favourite.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, even though he's been involved with those guys, that's not the point. That was more than one of his favourite ones. So yeah, it sounds like if you're interested in crowdfunding, which if you create, you probably are, then it's one to have a listen to.
I mean, Ben Cullis obviously did all the crowdfunding for the 77 comic.
Yeah.
And I interviewed him on the podcast, so I know that. I have to admit, I stood back and admired his crowdfunding. The way he just did the whole PR for the 77. You couldn't escape it, could you?
No.
It was everywhere. It just
still continues.
It took over the podcast that particular fortnight. So yeah, hats off to him. So I will catch up with that one.
But again, if you're interested in these, they are all online. But to say, I think we need to nudge Julie to do some of these next year.
Yes, yeah, I think it's
In
a
the
good
flesh.
idea. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I hope they do a lot more of them. I think for me, this was the kind of stuff that I would normally not be able to do because I would be behind the table.
Yeah.
So to be able to, see a lot of these things was and attend them, was a real treat. So yeah, I really enjoyed that.
Then we got the Little Lycaf Live, which I'm sure none of us really got involved with due to not having little kids. But I did watch, out of interest, a couple of Stephen Holland's discussions on the young kids' books, which were really interesting. And I think it's quite good, interesting for adults. That I don't know why he's got such a good voice in the way he talks and stands in front of Lake Windermere and
Yes,
blah, blah,
yeah.
blah.
Oh, yes, no, I watched a bit of
Yeah,
that with you,
no,
didn't
he was
I?
very good at that. So have a listen to them because I think they're worthy of reading. But so if you've got kids, it's all great stuff, as we know. And this is something that the Lakes does really well.
Yes, it does,
With the
actually,
kids
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And I like the new stylised Little Lycaf, which is all new for this year.
Yeah.
So, Pete, you should get involved in that. You should do kid stuff.
Do you know, I was nearly in the kids' corner one year, I think, with Monster Kids. So, I mean, it is something that I do like doing. I've done a few school workshops.
Yeah.
And, schools, libraries, community centres, stuff like that. And it's just great fun to just sit down and just draw. There's a certain amount of freedom that kids have at a certain age that kind of need to keep hold of a little bit more, perhaps. But I love that kind of stuff. I mean, now I suppose I'm not really doing as much sort of all ages stuff, but yeah, always like doing the workshops with kids. Brilliant.
No, wonderful. Right, so Desert Island Comics. So there were videos with Mark Miller, amazing, Dave Gibbons, Kelly Sue DeConnick, is that how you pronounce it, Mike?
Yeah.
Charlie Adlard, Posey Simmons, Hannah Berry, Paul Cornell, and Eric Reynolds. So the idea of these is wonderful, absolutely wonderful, and the perfect thing to put on a weekend such as this.
Oh yes, definitely.
With a simple template for interviewing these creators. What were your thoughts, guys, overall?
Really enjoyed them. Once you start, it's hard to stop. Really, they're very, very compulsive, easy viewing. They've got all of them except Kelly Sue up, I think, at the moment, because she was the live one, wasn't she? Did they do a live, or did they only show it live?
I think
it
it's
was
up
live.
now.
Yeah.
Right, it was live. Yeah. So I didn't see that one, but yes, I think I've seen them all now, except for Posey Simmons, which none wants to watch. So she's one of those creators that's got that crossover. There's certain people that I can talk to with Non's family that they know, and Posey Simmons is definitely one of them. She's got that real crossover appeal with a different part of the comics reading public, really. But yeah, really enjoyed them. Mark Miller's was really interesting. There's always one, usually, that you've not read, so there's quite a growing list. Most of the European ones that came up that were quite interesting. There's always a little bit of an insight as well, or a story that comes out that, I was chatting to Mike before we started, and sometimes you're having a chat with the creator at their table, and they might tell you something, and that's just for you two. It's a small conversation.
Yeah.
But when it's a video, of course, everybody shares it. So it's nice to actually have some of these stories come through and be viewable by everybody. One of my favourites was Mark Miller talking about being bought an issue of Swamp Thing by Alan Moore. Oh. he stood for an hour talking. I think he said he was 13 at a Glasgow Comic-Con, and he's talking to Alan Moore. Didn't really know him, but loved comics. And he said, Alan Moore was incredibly generous with his time, chatting with this little kid, and he said, "Oh well, I don't really know much of your stuff, but I will read them." And he said, "But I've just got my bus fare home. I've kind of run out of money. He'd already spent what little money he had on comics." And Alan Moore said, "Oh, I'll buy it for you." So he went over to one of the stores and bought the latest issue of the Swamp Thing that he'd written, which I think was 26, and he said he still had it upstairs. And that was it. That was one of his Desert Island comics. If anything was going to happen, that was one of the ones he was taking. So yeah, really enjoyed all of them. Eric Reynolds, the publisher of Fantagraphics. It was nice, you didn't end up getting, as you would expect from the Lakes, it wasn't just all superhero comics or all certain genres. It was a great representation on all fronts, and particularly Eric's was, that kind of more avant-garde Fantagraphics pull. So that was a really interesting one. And yeah, just listening to people chat about comics. It's fabulous, isn't it? It's perfect. I was there, I was at my table, I was drawing and listening to lots of people. Some of them you knew, some of them you didn't. So it was really nice. Really enjoyed.
Yeah. Anything that stood out for you, Mike, on that?
Actually, I've watched all of them apart from Mark Miller so far.
Oh, okay. Spoilers.
Dave Gibbons always good, and Charlie as well is always a really enjoyable sort of to see chats with these kind of people. I like the Posey Simmons and Hannah Berry, really good, but I think there was some collusion here because they both, as one of their comics, picked one from the other. So I'm not saying there was anything underhand here.
Well, you kind of are.
I really hope that was really a happy coincidence. It'll be really nice. But they are good choices, though. Seriously, they are. What we were joking before about was Kelly Sue DeConnick, who is just someone I really admire. And that is quite an interesting watch. I don't know if you saw that live. There's quite a poignant bit in it, really, where I think she's struggling for words a little bit, and it's to do with the Warren Ellis controversy because she was mentored by Warren, and it's a subject that she brings up herself. And there's obviously been a lot of allegations about his abuse of power in the industry when mentoring young women creators. And of course, she herself had nothing but benefit from that relationship. It was a worthy patronage for her. And it's obviously a difficult subject to talk about or express. And I was saying to Pete before, it's one of these things where this is possibly a positive of a virtual festival, that you really feel like you get up close to somebody in an interview like this. It was a lot deeper than the other ones, should we say. But it's a very interesting watch, and it's one of those things you go away and you have to make sure you understand exactly what's being talked about here, but it's all out there to understand. But she's done a lot of work as well in the industry because it kind of points out that it's a bit archaic. The comic industry is kind of like, it's almost like Renaissance art, where some creators can only get into the game if they have a patron who will support them and push them forward. And it's common, isn't it, in the comic industry? And it's kind of a bit archaic. So she's doing a lot of work. So that's kind of why I really like Kelly Sue DeConnick, because she does an awful lot of work for the industry. But I thought Desert Island Comic, that's fantastic. Why can't they kick those out every month?
Yeah. Just
anyway.
Yeah.
It's a format. It's a great format.
Yeah.
I suddenly remembered how much I love Desert Island Discs for Radio 4. And it's a really cool format, yeah.
I think one of the things that Mike brought up there is an interesting point about the difference between the live events, I think, and the pre-recorded ones. And the fact that, there was, I think, perhaps a real difference of catching somebody and watching somebody live than having the chance to, perhaps edit or, put a piece together that you've previously recorded. So I think that's one of the advantages of being able to catch something when it goes out. And for the difference between a live event and a pre-recorded one, I think is the moment that you've mentioned.
There's no sort of time constraints, I suppose, is there? In a live event, you've got to hit those notes, you've got to move it on, whereas in that they can just chat and say what they want without any fear. And if they know that if they said something wrong, it can be edited out if required, So it does
and
open
a conversation
it up a
could turn in a different way as well.
Yeah. You've got nothing new to worry about. And say they're always checking the watches when you're doing your live show. If we hit this point, we've got to move on to this point. So interesting.
Yeah.
Something to feed back, I feel.
Maybe.
Right. Let's move on to the next point, which I think actually was my favourite part of the weekend. Comets, Clouds and Kendall Mint Cake. The parts where people were travelling around Kendall and the Lake District discussing certain aspects of their work or their history. Did you watch any of these, guys?
There was some that were put on Twitter a little earlier than
they were. Yeah,
the
that first sort of day, weren't they? Yeah.
So I did see a couple of was it Steve Appleby on Wildcat Island?
Yes.
Yeah, so there was some that I did see, but I didn't watch any of them over the weekend.
But yeah, Stephen Appleby's messing about with boats, where he's talking about swallows and Amazons. It was really interesting, and just having it there on the lake. It just made it special. Really enjoyed listening to that, I must admit.
Yeah, bringing the place into the festival.
Yes,
yeah.
And Brian Talbot's locations of One Bad Rat was wonderful. Just again hearing him, because he's the type of guy who can just talk about anything, and just hear him, his passion and the reason why he chooses those particular places for this story about child abuse. Was
I've
again,
not read that yet, and after watching that, I really want to.
I agree. I've not read it myself.
Do you know when you understand the creative process of how he got to it? It looks a wonderful book, but I'm well aware of its content and its themes.
Yeah.
But
it's made it that little bit more interesting, hasn't it? Just seeing the real life side of it. The other one, Raymond Comes to Life. I can't say names. We'll call him Mr. Mazek, because I ain't going to try and pronounce his first name. But he was in residence for the month of Kendal, and he walked around points within Kendal, explaining how they linked to this comic that he made whilst being resident. And again, it's interesting just seeing the places and the way this one in particular, the way it's affected them recently and made them think about the creative process. So I thought they were all wonderful, I must admit.
Really good. Good idea.
And again, this is something I'd love to see them continue next year, whether they show them on the big screen as an event at the festival, whatever, but it's something so different that you can't do.
Also, it reaches out further than just the UK, doesn't it?
Well, you could have people in Japan doing it.
Yeah.
To stream on the event at the weekend or whichever country you want to choose. Because it is meant to be an international festival, so why base it all in Kendal? Why not do some outreach and videos?
It does affect your work. It's funny, and I don't think I'd realised it before, but the current strip that I'm drawing is based in Warrington. It's based in a period of time growing up with my mates. So I've drawn my childhood home into the strip, and it's the first time I've ever done anything autobiographical. Really. I mean, it's biographical. I've changed a lot, but it's very strange, the connective tissue that comes to the fore when you are dealing with a place so well, and it does.
I keep forgetting you're from Warrington.
Yeah.
please tell me that there's a part of this story that's based in Shoppo.
It's what?
Based in Shoppo, Shopping City.
Shoppo? No, I don't know. What's Shoppo?
Shopping City.
He's not really from Warrington, is he?
No.
I've got no idea what you're
Was
talking
that
about.
built after you moved out then?
The Golden Square was there, yeah. I'm pretty old, Mike.
Oh, God, no, this is me getting it wrong.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
No, that's the wrong one.
I had a shop going back. Yeah, the Golden Square was just a little shopping centre, and then suddenly it's this massive flipping. It's like the Arndale Centre when I went back. It was like a kind of big spaceship mothership. No, this is simpler times. This is set in 1983, mostly on waste ground that we used to call the bonk.
I was getting confused between Runcorn and Warrington. Okay, Warrington for me was always. Is it Mr. Smith's, the nightclub?
Yeah. used to be the ABC. Yeah, I went to see King Kong there.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, but it's funny, drawing, the things that you used to that do look completely different. So when you do go online and you're trying to get a bit of research, it's sometimes really difficult because everything's changed.
yeah.
But yeah, it's funny doing stuff from a childhood memory. It does imbue your work, I think, with something slightly different.
quite emotional, I'm guessing.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It deals with some stuff that, I mean, you lot know. The older I get, the older I get. So yes, not so much in the drawing, but definitely when I wrote it, there was a couple of teary bits when I was writing it. I have to say, totally. But it's more a case of there are definite sort of drawing your mates that some of them you haven't seen for 20, 30 years is a strange experience in itself. So I'm still pals with one of the guys in the strip. But it is funny. And I think that kind of stuff, when you have somebody talking about it in a film, I think that comes through.
Yeah.
I think it really does. That there's special areas.
They're sort of the main sections, but there's a few other events that went on the weekend that sort of listed. So we'll look at a couple of them. So there was Sean Phillips, live from his studio.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, it was nothing new for us because we've been to his studio. You know, we've done all that.
So jealous.
Did either of you watch any of that?
Yeah. It was one of my highlights, actually.
It was, wasn't it? And again, I thought Sean was quite different because he was talking to somebody he knows. Mm-hmm. He's at home in his studio. Mm-hmm. He's comfortable. Seeing him grab comics and books from his shelf, talking about them with, immediacy, passion. It was great. I unfortunately couldn't watch all of them, so I kind of caught bits. But luckily caught the later one after he was doing. He starts a commission, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yes, and he was finishing it later on.
A Blade Runner one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I saw him start it, and then I saw pretty much the finished piece later on. But then he starts talking about his comics a bit more. Starts talking about his process of creating a page, and then he starts talking about pens. So it's kind of like that's. Any kind of... I love a bit of pen porn. Anytime somebody mentions what pen they're using, I can't help it. So he's it's a Tombow and a Japanese brush pen. I was like, okay, Tombow. So I wrote down Tombow. I ordered all 4 different kinds of Tombow on the Monday that I could find just to try them out. Great. So absolutely loved it. I thought it was informal, friendly, but still, really interesting. And you do feel that you're learning a lot about them. But I thought Julie did really well as well, asking the questions and keeping it going. It was
again,
really,
you could tell the friends that was a thing. There was that trust between the pair of them. Definitely came across. But I think they planned to do more of that. Didn't seem to happen, but I think maybe something again down the line. It'd be good to go into creators' workspaces if they're going to continue some of this.
It's not come online yet as well, which is frustrating. I can't wait. I hope they were. And she did mention she was recording it, so I hope the Sean Phillips Studio films do go online eventually. Because I got called away. IT support at one bit, I think, for me. Long range university IT support.
Oh, yay.
He mentioned, didn't it, about he always uses reference photos, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
He takes millions of them. And I can't remember, there must have been a live event in a previous year where he kind of went into that a bit more.
Right.
But did Julie sort of say, oh, can we see some of them or something?
Somebody was asking it.
That was a question. He's put them up before now, and they're really funny. And there's a reason why he doesn't do it, because they're all him in the most ridiculous poses.
Yeah.
And they're really funny. And then you suddenly see, oh wow, when you see the artwork that came out of that. But he did one, and it was all him sort of like walking down the stairs and then sprawling on the floor and stuff. And thank God for digital cameras, because if you had to get them developed.
It is amazing, though, throwing him in different environment. Like you say, he was a bit more possibly open. But we've seen him so many years in a row talking about his work. But this, again, it was a completely different side. And it felt fresh, which was superb. Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah. Really.
The next bit, which we didn't get to, we planned to, but then again, having a birthday on the day didn't quite work out.
Stop blaming me for giving birth.
Well, yeah, you should have. Big comic pub quiz. You two got involved in this, I believe.
Yeah.
It was a little bit embarrassing because when we all logged on, it was all like, oh, cool, it's There's only one person I didn't know. And I was robbed, by the way.
Oh,
okay.
I was doing it on an iPad.
Uh-huh.
And it was spell checking me at the end when I was pressing submit. I spelt Mobius correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And then it obviously spell checked it and did it properly German.
Oh.
And of course, that wasn't what he typed into the back end. And there were so many things like that. Pete won. He was the leader from the beginning. I think most of us didn't answer the first 3 questions because we were trying to get the technology to work. Pete was in there.
He was Googling and then doing
it.
No, funny enough, it was Russell who was leading from the beginning. Russell Mark Olsen. So
well, can I just? I've got a comment from Russell here, just about the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Excellent weekend, even if Pete did cheat during the quiz.
Oh.
What, is that online?
Yeah, that's on Twitter. Everyone
right
to see.
Yeah.
I
Just
haven't
retweet
seen
that out.
Retweet that. Yeah, Petegate, we'll call it Petegate.
Did I? What did he say? Did he say how I cheated?
He's taking the mick out of you.
No. Do you know, it's funny because Russell started. I got the first question wrong. It was anagrams to begin with.
Oh.
And just lost. That didn't help my confidence. I was like, oh God, So, but yeah, I don't think Russell or me were lost the first 2 spots. I think it was kind of.
It was, yeah. The top 5 was made up of Scroll Lords and podcast members, shall we say.
You see, if we'd have gone on, we could have been at the bottom.
Yeah, we could have brought that down.
Prompting from the presenter to make a comment along the lines of, how did you scare everybody else off? It was a wonderful, fun quiz. I don't know why it wasn't like 200 people logging on. Given the rest of the
I'll tell you why.
And everything else.
I'll tell you why. Because it was at 12 o'clock. It was midday. I think would have stopped. That really should have been, I think, towards an evening thing or later in the day.
4 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Or something.
There was some debate. There was some debate amongst some of the Scroll Lords about whether we were, because it was a pub quiz, whether we were going to drink. We were. It did feel a little early, even for the Scroll Lords, to be honest. But Sock texted me, and he was like, "Oh, are you going to have a drink?" I was like, he said, "I'll feel like an alky," and I said, "Well, I was going to, but
now
maybe
you feel like."
My one concession was maybe we should wait till past. And then he went, "Oh, Martin's in. I'm doing it." So it's kind of like, that was it, So I know me, Sock, and Martin were definitely boozing. I'm sure Gustavo was. But, I know it did. For us, it was a chance to... we caught up afterwards as well. So it was a chance of trying to, get a bit of the pub life. I think having a chat afterwards. And it was really fun. You had the different sections, so you didn't feel that a particular knowledge of one area of comics was going to put you forward or help you. So you did have some of the geeky stuff about, I think, alter egos, but you did have you had to put, I think, 4 volumes of Sandman in the correct order.
This is one of the things I have. The one issue I have is they really did say this was family fun friendly and all this kind of stuff. It wasn't. It was geek Nirvana.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like, who's this character? And I did actually. It did, of course, it's spell corrected on me, but it had like Mako from Monstrous.
Yes.
And it's like, it's stuff kids won't read, wouldn't be reading, and just some of. It kind of spanned. You did need quite a good sort of general history of comics.
Yeah, you had a bit of comics history in there, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was... I loved it, but maybe they could have split it and maybe do a younger age one.
Yeah.
at 12 o'clock, and then do a bit of a more mature
and then
one,
do an
like they
evening
did
one.
a bit later on.
Okay, just to check. Am I allowed in to enter both of these?
Well, he did say, didn't he, that wasn't there supposed to be some kind of prize or something for younger, or
was it?
Or I might have misheard that.
No, I'm not sure, and I'm glad it wasn't family friendly in a way. I think you could do two. I think because they've got the little Lycaf area, I think you could probably do a younger family friendly quiz.
Yeah.
I think it was really well honed in terms of the different areas that you might tackle. I think a heads up of the platform that we're using would have helped. We didn't really know how it was going to be done, and then I think when you arrived, you were told you needed that it was going to be done on a mobile phone. And I know Sock had joined the chat on a mobile phone, so he then had to find another device to do the quiz on. And there was some mechanics of the site you weren't sure of, whether you were supposed to click and hold to move things, or just little things like that that I know everybody was somewhat on the back foot. So,
but once you got the hang of it, it was a really good platform, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's one of these things. While we've been in lockdown, I haven't done any of these pub quiz things. But I bet if you had, you would have known or recognised that piece of
probably, yeah.
And it's really good if you could actually use that yourself. I wouldn't mind sort of like doing some of those kind of things with friends. And it worked really well. It was I was desperately searching through for you two, and you just weren't there. I know you were wanting to.
Yes, that was a plan.
It was embarrassing. It was Scroll Lords, me, and one other bloke.
As I say, we'd have been down the bottom.
We wouldn't have got one right. I wouldn't have thought.
No, we've tried to do a geek quiz before a podcast event, haven't we? We were challenged by another podcast, and we failed magnificently. Magnificently.
Yeah.
So yes, we're not general knowledge. Before we talk about the final video, which we really want to do, just want to mention about they announced the Myriad graphic novel competition winner. Yep.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't you.
No.
Next year?
Every 2 years. No, can't now.
Oh, is it every 2 years?
Yeah. It was artist Veronica Mulstache from Falmouth, Cyberman. Which I thought looked very interesting, different.
It did look different.
All based around social media aspects and so forth. So that'll be out, I imagine, in the next 2 years. We've got the one that was the one 2 years ago to review.
The biscuits one.
Biscuits in a future episode.
Biscuits, something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. It's very good.
Yeah.
I've been reading.
We'll get to that. So yeah, that's always good to have Myriad involved with a festival like that. It's great. And the final one I just want to talk about is Pass the Panel. Did you watch this video?
Yeah, I haven't finished it yet. But yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
It's one of the highlights of the Lakes when they do artwork or any type way, shape or form, and this was a brilliant way to do it.
I just like watching people draw anyway. So
people draw the way they use a mix of digital and old fashioned. I'm going to call it
analog.
The brilliant comment up front was that they were asked to basically draw it and do capture it and do it in fast forward, weren't they? Basically, and the comment at the front was that there was clear instructions, but the British comic artists were the ones that didn't do it.
Everyone else was.
And then they pass it to Stephen Appleby.
Yeah.
You see, he goes, "Oh, I forgot to record it." So, and he's just sat there in such a British way of just like relaxedly, sort of like explaining his process and then showing the final piece. So it just made me laugh. That
was brilliant.
Yeah, I enjoyed as well the fact that people sort of changed sometimes their approach based on what had gone before. I think right at the beginning, is it Luke McGarry starts it off with it starts with a sheep that he thinks in a rocket and it's actually in the Kendall Clock Tower.
Yep.
And then that's passed on to Duncan Fegredo, who draws in a lovely, more cartoony style than he normally would on his page. And I really enjoyed seeing that different approach from him, because it fit more and was a bit more light-hearted, and it was really good.
And then we get to Sean Phillips,
the guy who we've just been
vibe out the window,
who we've just been saying about how was
huge hulking mutated sheep. Oh, that was so funny.
we're just saying about how open Sean was in that last video, and then he says absolutely nothing in this one.
Yeah.
No, it was wonderful seeing all the different styles and the way it progressed was absolutely superb. I'm not sure if they released it yet as a comic in its own right. I imagine it'll go up as a digital comic. I'll have to look into that, but it's definitely worth watching that video because it was fascinating. And showing part of it at the launch night just dragged you in, didn't it? It's like, I want to watch all of that.
Yeah, I've got to see this one.
So wonderful. And again, that's the type of stuff you can see live at the lakes. They've done that sort of thing. They've done it most years, and they've created a comic within a period of time. So
yeah, the live draws are always the thing that I'm kind of most miffed about Sync. It's a big portion of time, and they do usually release them afterwards, don't they? Sometimes. In video or you released the Hell Draw on this podcast, didn't you, with Lawrence Campbell and Sean Phillips, and it's lovely to catch that stuff. And I don't know if it means that perhaps more stuff will get released online as perhaps this virtual con can stay, even when things go back to a certain extent, and cons become, a little more kind of inclusive of people who aren't able to visit. Because I know in the past you want to kind of keep your ticket holders as the only people that saw it, but maybe there is something about a kind of opening up of the doors so that it's available, and it's just the fact that you saw it live is the thing that makes
it would be a good thing as well to drip feed out between one festival and the next. Yeah. As an extra way of promoting and stuff. And I think
there's a big difference between seeing it live and seeing it on the screen. You're always going to want to see it live if you can. You're always going to want to have that interaction with the creators. So it's not a loss to start pumping them out a month later. Online.
Or maybe just add something to the live. Maybe there's a little Q&A at the end, or maybe there's a little extra something that you only get to see live.
There usually is a Q&A. So it's just having that chance to interact with the individuals that you wouldn't do normally.
Yeah, we could just release it. Yeah.
Because
I really do want. They're the things that I do miss. I do miss the most. So it was nice, and there's quite a few other drawing videos on there that I'm going to catch up with as well. Ken Nimura from I Kill Giants. He's got a video of him drawing something I want to catch up with. The other thing I watched as well was the Peter Hansen Through the Keyhole.
Yes.
Did you see that?
I've not seen that, no.
He's got this massive barn full of comics and original artwork. He's even got a box labelled, I think, girls' comic toys. So all the toys that actually came.
It was the free gifts, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Diaries. Photos, and some of them like a painting of Cliff Richard with Ginty 84 or something. So that was really some gorgeous artwork on show from the Eagle, and right at the end he said, and he's got another shed here full of stuff like this at his other home in Canada.
Oh.
And it's a shed, it's a barn. I mean, it's massive, and it's not organised really, is it?
No.
I think they asked him what was his organisation, and he just said, it's here.
He knows where things are, and that's all that matters.
Some of the original artwork he just pulled out. It was gorgeous, wasn't it, Pete?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
So there's lots of stuff that you can still find on the YouTube channel that
I think that's it.
Perhaps wasn't as promoted or as easily found on the website. So I've been really enjoying catching up.
I just wanted to mention about Yomi as well. Did one of those comics, Clouds and Candle mint cake ones. Going back to the very beginning when we were talking about Silverman and his tuba that shot playing. I love that little bit of film because it explains about the Clockwork Watch, which we've bought over the years, quite a few of those, but I'm not up to date with those yet. But we were all there that year, and that makes kind of sense of what was quite a drunken night, and fills in a few gaps. Because I think I was trying to catch up with you. You were slightly ahead on the procession. It was like a live role play street theatre event, and it was impossible for anyone to have caught all of it because it was throughout the day, wasn't it?
It was
in different places,
and it kind of made it make more sense. And they had the Angel Corps who were singing and marching through the streets and stuff like that, and that's really made me want to go back and reread those. And what happened that year has got written into the comic, and I've not caught up that far.
All of the stuff he does is all one story, isn't it? So all these extra bits he does on the side, it all links together. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
He's
Brilliant concept.
Yeah, his stuff needs to be seen more.
Yes.
I feel.
I believe so.
It's really, really cool the way he's like filled out this entire sort of like Victorian world. It's such a good read, and it's so not out there as much as it should be.
No. Right, so we've sort of given out, as we're talking, our favourite things, but what one thing would you like to see continue into next year's real event? I'm going to start with you, Nikki.
Oh no, don't do that. I think just I think the Kendall mint cake and more those little videos, I think we should do them every year because I think, like you say, it's an outreach to everyone around the world. I think we just need to keep pushing ourselves and, sending our little fingers across to reach and touch.
Oh, chubby fingers.
Like E.T. Just touch everyone. So that's what I think. I think we just need to keep promoting and keep trying to reach everyone, really.
Really shout out that international. I know we shout it. We bring the international in, don't we?
Yeah.
Whereas we need to send it out.
Yeah, not even that. Like, just even in this country. I mean, we just need to be more of a presence.
Yeah.
I think just to reach more people.
Pete, for yourself?
I think it would be the studio visits. There's nothing like seeing an artist or a creator in the space that they occupy when they're creating. They're more comfortable. They're relaxed. When you see them sometimes and they're behind a table and there's a queue of people and it's a bit noisy or hot or pouring down or you never see them. You don't see all of them at their best, should we say? You can occasionally have a grumpier encounter than you wanted. But yeah, seeing them in their studio, usually just seeing the amount of stuff from an industry that they love is sometimes very cool. I've watched a few. I know there's a few books of studio visits, and I know you can sometimes see them online. I saw a video once with Jeff Darrow, Shaolin cowboy artist. He had the biggest drawing board I had ever seen. It was industrial. It looked like something Isambard Kingdom Brunel designed a life-size ship on. It was humongous, like something from Frankenstein. And he's surrounded by kung fu videos. It's just... I want to see more of people in their space.
We lost you for the past...
We did.
20 seconds there.
Oh, what was the last thing?
I can't remember now. I was more looking at the thing going, oh shit, lost them.
I could hear perfectly, strangely enough. And Pete's doing recording, so...
We'll try and find that lost 20 seconds.
That lost 20 seconds.
Yeah, it was...
lost files.
Yeah, probably Jeff Darrow's Kung Fu collection.
Kung Fu collection, yes, it was.
That's where we got to,
and
then we lost you.
Yeah, he's surrounded by Kung Fu videos. Yeah, you just get a different idea of a creator when you see them in their space. I think sometimes you might not realise that they are, like massive toy geeks, or they've got another passion for, Bollywood cinema or something, But once you see them in their space, you can find a little more out about them.
Interesting. Mike?
It's not so much something new they should carry on doing, but it's the registration sessions. They've always done them, and they've always been interesting. But I loved the fact that it was tightly themed this year. It was do it yourself. How to draw from observation, how to write for comics, how to think, how to crowdfund. And it kind of all gelled together. And I like the idea of, as a festival, they're also trying to push you out into the comic world to do something. And I think I like the tightness of the theme on that, and they should carry on with that. They've done lots of these kind of things in previous years, things that you think like, I fancy getting into writing comics. And there's been loads of ones from different creators and stuff talking about different aspects, but it's just kind of getting that theme. I thought it was really nice. But the Lucy Sullivan one, superb. I don't know if you could actually how you'd get a lot of people drawing at once, but I'm sure you could do it.
Yeah, I think
that's interesting.
To be fair, that is mine. Mike stole mine. Damn you. That is my one thing. Just those getting more involved with the classes that or whatever you're watching. And I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah, because it, like I say, it inspired you, so it'll inspire others.
And I think what you just said there is probably right, Mike. When they do a how to or whatever, they'll have a couple of creators there rather than just one creator lecturing almost. And that's maybe what it needs to change to make it that bit more interesting, to have that one creator giving their opinion.
You could have both, couldn't you? But yeah.
It's a different style. It's a different style to what they would normally do. You would have 2 or 3 creators talking about something rather than just that one standing on stage, no one interviewing them, talking away. And it requires a certain type of individual to be able to do that, but they are out there as shown by this weekend. So yeah, interesting. Right, well, that was a weekend. That was a weekend.
And it was a weekend. I was really worried there wasn't going to be enough. I had a full weekend, and I'm still catching up on stuff.
Yeah.
How did they get so much content? That's just brilliant.
Yeah, fair play to the whole team.
Yeah, definitely.
And it didn't even as long as they'd normally have. No. Either. It was 7 months. Roughly 6 months, 7 months to get it all together.
During lockdown, there's loads of conventions that we all go to, isn't there? Yeah. And there's loads of gaming conventions and role-playing stuff I go to, and they've all tried to do a virtual. This is the first one I've actually felt I've just attended a festival. They are going to be held up as an example, I think, to anyone else trying to do this virtually in the future, I think.
Yeah. Although, hopefully, we won't have to happen for much longer.
Yes, hopefully. But
No, definitely the team have done good. And like I say, I think there is aspects they can bring forward to the proper event next year and utilise both sides of it.
Yes. Yeah.
Definitely.
It's like a sister that can run alongside it, isn't it? Really, a sister thing. Yeah.
And I think, like you guys have said, having it constant throughout the year as well, building up their YouTube channel, getting the subscribers to then lead on to more visitors.
Yeah. It all reach out further than just the little niche almost.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Loving it. Right. Thank you very much. Do you want to give a plug to yourselves, even though Mac's already done that? Give a plug to yourself.
I've got nothing to sell, mate.
Sell yourself.
That's why we're surprised.
The podcast is beat now. I feel like I have to say something.
It's no use even plugging my Twitter and Instagram at the moment because I'm just not on that either. This man, this Pete on Twitter and Instagram. Yeah, it's I'm head down at the moment. So yeah, there will be stuff coming soon. But keep listening to the podcast.
And when is the Scroll comic coming out? Because it was originally going to be launched for the next weekend, wasn't it?
We wanted to launch it the weekend of the festival. It was, it was last year that the Scroll Lords formed. It's just, I think it's quite a big volume. There's a lot of, I think we've got 13, 14 creators involved. So there's a lot in place, but there's just one or two things that I'm still finishing up. Mine, I think, Martin, Sock. What else was that? So it's just probably end of October. I think realistically it's going to be finished. So it will be printed before the end of the year. So
I just want my Gustavo original.
Yeah. Well,
you haven't got one yet.
Fair comment.
First time I've been able to say that to you. you two just you get so much stuff.
Dear.
It's nearly there. It's coming.
Superb. We're looking forward to that. Thank you very much for your time, gentlemen.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. It's been great seeing you two.
Yeah.
I just haven't seen enough of you two. Sorry.
That sounds wrong. You got my crotch shot earlier. There you go. That's what you wanted.
Yeah, I'm glad we managed to hook up. It's a really important part of the year. So it's nice to see you both.
And here's to the next year of the podcast.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for listening. Bye.
Thank you for listening to my dulcet tones and their northern ramblings. Find out more about the Lakes International Comic Art Festival at comicartfestival.com and find us on Twitter at comicartfestpod or online at comicartpodcast.uk.